Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're taking a look at Hideous Abominations by Tettix Games.
In a hideous abomination, you and the other players are going to be creating a hideous abomination. Using different cards, you're going to roll a die and take certain actions trying to play on your monster and the other people's monsters, trying to complete yours and mess up the other player's monsters. This is a very interesting box as it has some creative, colorful artwork on the sides here and lots of interesting things about this game. Let's go down below, take a look at it, then we'll come back and share our thoughts on this one. Alright, so here's Hideous Abomination on the table here. Let me show you guys how this game works. In this game, for setup, you are always going to have these same 4 in-game goals at the top here that you see. And then you are going to select 4 from this deck of cards. And so these 4 right here are going to be different every game, but you can see and get an idea of what they might be. Most teeth, most horns, most wings, and most noses. And so these are different body parts, obviously. And so these are the goals that all players are going to be trying to achieve by the end of the game. You can see that this one right here, it completed abomination, is for the person who completes their abomination first. Most colors, most digits, and the smallest or the fewest cards used to make your abomination. And you're then going to have a market set up here with your stack of cards that you're going to be playing with, and there are going to be 3 cards in the market plus a discard pile to the side. All players are going to receive 1 abdomen section to start their Hideous Abomination, and these are double-sided, so if you don't like one side you can play with the other. You can see that there are a bunch of different colors in this game as well as different flesh types, and it's not too important whichever one you decide to pick. You just go with one and that's what you're going to be playing as. So I will say that I am this guy right here, and then the game begins, and you start by rolling this die. And so whatever you roll on this die is what you are going to be doing for your turn. More detail what these actions are, you do have a little card right here that helps you to remember what the different actions you can do. And so the top one there, the eye, that is going to let you draw a tile from the spare parts buffet. You are then going to put that into your hand. You're not going to play that just yet. That's what you do down here on the second part. Or you could draw from the top of the pile. You could draw from the deck here. If you were to roll the green arrows, the refresh, then you are simply going to clear out this buffet and put 3 new ones in, and then you would draw as above if you had rolled the purple. Bolt is a good action to get because whenever you bolt, you are then going to grab one of these tiles right here, and this is going to let you bolt down tiles that are onto your abomination in any manner. So for instance, let's say I had played this here. I could later on, if I got bolt, I could bolt this down and make it so that no one could steal that tile from me later on in the game because there is a steal option. You can see here that if I roll steal, I get to take a tile from another player's body that's not their torso and is not bolted down. So the bolted down lets me prevent from being stolen from. And going back to the bolt real quick here, you then get to roll again. So it's like getting 2 turns in one. It's very nice to get that bolt. The last one that you can roll is Jolt, and that lets you choose any of the other 4. And so that's a good one to get as well. After you complete whichever one you rolled, then you are going to play a card from your hand. And as I've just demonstrated, you do have to connect body parts. And so for instance, I could do this like that, but I could not do that because there's nothing here for this wing to connect to. Whatever one tile is taken from the buffet, a new card comes out to replace it. And as you can see, there are different colors and different body parts on these cards. Let me show you that real quick. This here shows me that this is a wing, but this one down here also shows me that there is 1 nose on this, and you can see it right there. And that's important because, as I've shown you before, we are competing for most noses, and so as well as wings. And so whoever has the most wings and noses
they're going to win those awards, so I might want to try to go for that throughout the course of the game. Now, here's the catch to this game. I don't have to play cards from my hand onto my abomination. I can play it on all of the other players' abominations, trying to mess their creation up and, you know, take away chances for them to get what they really want. Such as I might play this on somebody else's because it doesn't have a nose on it, that sort of thing. And then the game is going to end whenever a player's abomination is completely closed off, that there are no more places to play any more tiles on a player's abomination. Or another way the game can end is if all of these tiles are depleted, there's nothing new to be able to put into the buffet. That could end the game as well. This token right here is to prevent from being stolen upon. Once somebody steals from you, having taken the steal action, you get this token that protects you from being stolen upon until someone else gets stolen, and then they get to take the token. So you can never be stolen from 2 times in a row. There is one secret objectives deck that you can play with. You don't have to play with this if you don't want to, but this is something you deal out to the players at the beginning of the game, and it's a secret objective that they are trying to accomplish. And you will get additional points for this at the end of the game. You can see here what some of them will let you do if you are able to accomplish that, but that is an extra thing you can add. After you add that in or decide not to, you add up all the points. You just see who has the most points, and whoever does is the winner, and that is how you play Hideous Abominations.
And we're back, and right now you can see Sam and I and one of our kids doing a 3-player playthrough of Hideous Abomination. And while you're checking this out, we'll share our thoughts on this. So Sam, as I mentioned in the intro, this is a very interesting looking game with really unique, maybe obscene artwork, some artwork that might kind of gross you out a little bit.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts of this?
It definitely looked quite odd. You know, teeth and eyes and fingers and different colors.
Horns and yeah,
all kinds of, I mean, it looked odd.
So seeing that on the table, kind of tell me about how it struck you, whether it made you want to play this or not.
I mean, it definitely struck me as a kid's game.
Okay.
It struck me as this is going to be really easy, straightforward. We did play it with our 9-year-old. So that's kind of what my thought process was going into it.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that it looked like a kid's game. And maybe, I don't know, this is us speaking as 90s kids here. If you were a fan of the Nickelodeon show,
Yes,
Aw, Real Monsters.
yes,
That was my first thought when I saw this on the table was, oh, it's Aw, Real Monsters.
Yeah.
And it's totally not,
Yeah.
but it has that same sort of vibe to it. And yet, you know, it's still a game that I would say, you know, the box says ages 12 and up, so it's definitely not meant to be for young kids. I mean, you can play it with kids, but it's not a kid's game. Tell me, what did you think about the gameplay and whether this was fun?
Yeah, it was fun. I wasn't really sure to think at the beginning, but it is a pretty straightforward game. You're building a monster. I liked the idea that there was goals, you know, most eyes, most kind of gave you something more to go for than just completing your monster, because I think then it would be a little too simplistic. But I thought it was fun. I like that you can take pieces from other people, so that kind of give it a little, you know,
take that.
Yeah. But overall, and I think our 9-year-old really enjoyed seeing the creations, the abominations that we came up with.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that the game had those bolts built into the bolt mechanic where you can bolt down your different pieces to protect from players stealing those specific pieces. I like that because it gives you a certain level of protection from the take that. You know, the one thing about take that games is that they can oftentimes leave people feeling like, well, that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
And in this game, you definitely have the ability to protect yourself. So you better do it when you get the opportunity. I also thought it was interesting that you could play pieces, your cards, on other people's monsters as a way of kind of, you know, jabbing at them and another take that mechanic. And I thought that was cool. I thought that was a unique thing. And then you as the player kind of have to adapt to that and figure out, well, how do I make this work for me now?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed to kind of really work for me. So Now, I do want to mention about the die, because every action is dependent upon what you roll on that die. And so there is a certain level of that being taken out of your hands, that agency being taken out of your hands, and you're a little bit, dictated by the game. The game is kind of dictating a little bit of how it's going to work out for you. For me as a gamer, there's times where that can work and there's times where that doesn't feel so great to me. I didn't mind it too much in this game because the other aspects of the game I felt were pretty fun.
Yeah.
This creation that I'm making in front of me, it looks ridiculous, but it's drawing me in, and I'm really kind of getting into how I want it to look. And I'm really getting into, I need these horns here, I need these eyes there, I need more avenues to continue to create, but at the same time I'm watching what everyone else is doing, and I don't want to get so big that they complete their monsters and mine's not where I needed it to be. So I didn't mind that too much, but you, Sam, as a non-gamer, I'm interested to know your thoughts. You're at the mercy of what you roll on that die to determine what you do on your turn. What do you think of that?
I mean, it kind of makes, you're not having to sit there and make all the choices for yourself. So
Okay.
I think for a non-gamer, it can be a benefit. For kids, I think it's a benefit for sure.
Yeah.
So
just kind of having some of that decision-making process not so squarely on you, and the game sort of takes care of some of that for you, can actually be a good thing, is what I think you're saying. Okay. That's an interesting dynamic there, because I think, like I said, I think a lot of gamers would say, I think I'd like the other way around. I want to make those choices. So that's something you kind of have to weigh out with this game, is that it's going to make a lot of choices for you with that die. So. Let's go ahead and get into some pros and cons with this one, Sam. What were some of the things that you enjoyed about this game?
It's unique. My kid really liked it, so that's obviously a big one for me. It was easy to understand. It was a pretty quick game as well, and it was fun. It was enjoyable.
Okay. Any cons?
This is probably silly, but my OCD type personality, I wanted my abomination to look like I wanted there to be some
You want it symmetrical? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Symmetrical.
Okay.
I did it. I had a hard time, and I found that in the back of my mind when I'm picking pieces. This arm looks like this, and looking for ones that were similar, and it had no effect at all.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing I didn't think about until you start talking about it, and that is that the idea of what you want your abomination to look like because of those goals, you get an idea of what it needs to look like, and it doesn't start to go that way, either because of the die or because you don't have the right cards, and you have to adapt, and you have to roll with that. It didn't make it any less fun or anything like that. It was just, that's where my mind went. Okay.
So
I can see that. Yeah, you just have
It's not a con for the game. It was a con for me playing.
A personality issue.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. What are you going to give this one?
It was a fun little game that I think we would play with our kids. We have a lot of kids games, so I kind of think, how often are we going to get it out? I'd probably give it maybe a 7.1.
Okay, 7.1, solid score. I think I'm probably a little higher than that, because just personally for me, I do really enjoy those types of games where they say, here's your goals that you're trying to achieve, like you mentioned, and that's your idea of what you want to try to go for. As I've already mentioned, that die can kind of sort of mess with that a little bit, and you got to accept, well, I can't hit all these goals, or I'm not doing as well as I wanted on this one, so I'm going to abandon that one, and I'm going to go for the ears or whatever, the whatever goal. And so that's just something you kind of have to accept with this game. At the end of the day, it is fun. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed how much everybody else at the table seemed to enjoy it. It's colorful. It looks really interesting on the table. So for that, I'm going to give this game a 7.3. That's where I kind of land on this one. Definitely one I want to show off to other people and say, hey, check this out, especially if you're a 90s kid. I want you to see this game. So, and it looks really interesting on the shelf too. So That is Hideous Abominations. Tettix Games. Is it one that you would recommend playing with the non-gamer?
Yeah, I think it's a good one to play with non-gamers.
All right, there you go. Hideous Abominations. Check it out.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.